Hello, everybody out there in the chat. Welcome back to the Link to the Past Randomizer 2019 tournament. We have game number 3 between the 1 and 2 seeds of Group AB, if I recall, azder and lunchtime_ATH. They went back-to-back yesterday, had a couple of interesting races. We'll recap a little bit here shortly. I'm Mentos8, joined this morning by Koi. How you doing this morning?
How have you not mentioned that Azder's playing Super Metroid yet?
I'm just used to it. He's
Azder will not be playing Super Metroid today, you guys.
This is true. He will be playing Link to the Past. Be a little bit lopsided to do a Metroid versus Link to the Past, right?
So yeah, this is the decider match for this group. One player moving on, one player going home. So it's actually really interesting because Azder and Lunchtime are actually the first and second seeds of their group, but both fallen down to this last chance to get out.
Yep, and to give you a little bit of a recap of the series, Game 1, Azder decided not to dip Pendant Thieves Town. Lunchtime also made that decision, ended up dipping Pendant Thieves Town sooner, and found the hookshot in there, which brought him directly to go mode. Azder decided if it's in Thieves Town, I've lost, and just kept avoiding it till the very last location. A little bit of shaky execution, a death to Vitreous on Lunchtime side made it a closer race than it could have been, but it was, all things considered, Lunchtime's race from pretty much the moment he got the hookshot till the end. Game 2, Azder decided to flip it to a 6 seed, and, well, it became a hover seed. They did not find the hookshot. He hovered across Moldorm 2 the first time he has hovered in a race, per his own words, and took the win for Game 2. And so in Game 3, Lunchtime has decided to undo the 6-6. It is going back to a regular 7-7 defeat Ganon. It's just it's the same as round 1 now. They're back to the basics.
Yeah, kind of nice having just a normal seed. It could still be a hover seed, like 7-7 can generate hover seeds. It's just a lot more uncommon.
Yeah, I remember during the interview after the race yesterday, Azder mentioned 2 reasons for picking 6-6. One was he just wanted to do one of them before he lost out of the tournament, so he figured this was his chance. The other being Lunchtime had a race against Ravis where he had some trouble with his hovers, and it ended up costing him the race. So he kind of gambled on that, and it did pay off.
So both the runners starting at Link's house here, getting a gold bee in a bottle, the good bee. But as they're immediately saving and quitting, and Lunchtime moving on to the uncle.
Bee in a bottle, it gets you sick kid, but gold bee in a bottle gets you 100 rupees off the bottle vendor, so that is a nice way to start out.
Yeah, nice bomb tree pull. We'll probably see Azder do that as well here in the Lost Woods.
Uncle holding on to 50 rupees, that's Kakariko money. You get 50 rupees between the well and Blind's Hut, so as long as you got 50, you can afford the bottle vendor, no problem.
Even without selling the bee. As they're giving us a nice little look here at the Lumberjack. Da-da-da-da. Lots of money.
I cannot imagine a situation where anyone would do Aghanim for that money. Although I can't imagine a situation where you have to do Aghanim anyway and then you go get that money.
Yeah, even then that would be pretty rare. Where you have access to the 300 rupees, but you actually need it.
Yeah, it would be a little bit of a fringe situation.
I mean, it's possible we'll see Lunchtime grab it blind or something, I guess. 3 more bombs just sitting there in the middle of the Lost Woods. Nobody hurting for bombs today.
And the thief hideout just having a piece of heart that, it's right there, so you can go ahead and pick it up. If it were out of the way, I don't think either of these two would make any effort to pick it up, but
I would actively try to avoid it, even dropping down right next to it. Sometimes it's hard to not pick up the item, though, because you drop so close to it.
It's true. I skipped a heart container there in one of my group races and really upset a few people at me leaving it behind.
A whole heart container, Mentis, man?
Yep.
You monster.
We are breaking into these Kakariko checks here.
Yeah,
More bombs, just in case you didn't have any. And then blue mail, a moon pearl, and a heart container. So solid haul out of blind side.
Yeah, with the mirror in the back too. Not bad. Mirror unfortunately doesn't really do anything for us, now, but probably later.
Yeah, it was kind of the thing in both of these two races so far that East Death Mountain was pretty much just go mode. Once you got to EDM, you were just, your go mode. So, maybe the mirror points them there sooner and we get a stupidly fast go mode.
Yeah, these early progression items, I always try and think, okay, so what is this pointing towards right now? And for Azder, Magic Bed is definitely on the table.
Well, not quite, because Aster has no magic since he didn't go up to
Yeah.
that Uncle Tunnel.
So,
Lunchtime
the
has
Uncle
the
Start may
magic.
be important.
Imagine getting a glove off of Magic Bat and just not having the magic to do it when you were there the first time.
Well, if it is something like the glove, Azder will, of course, be bottlenecked by it pretty hard, pretty early. So, not too worried about him never finding it or anything. But, it's pretty inefficient to have to walk all the way back to Kakariko because you didn't have enough magic when you were here.
And I am surprised that he didn't sell his good bee. He's hanging on to it, even though he didn't quite have enough money for a bottle vendor.
Yeah, it's kind of a niche knowledge thing. He may just not even be aware of it.
Like yeah, that's very true.
It's like powdering the chicken in the creeper lady's house, the snitch house.
That always concerned me as a child.
You can powder the old lady in front of the chicken house and she'll like disappear. It's just like little things about the game that don't really come up that often or have any purpose sometimes, and he just may not be cognizant that you can sell that bee, or maybe he just wants the bee. Who knows? We'll have to ask him later.
And both the race game and the library coming up empty, so Kakariko not bad. We have a red crystal at Desert and a red pendant at Eastern.
And Lunchtime is going to give us that magic bat check that Azder was unable to do. Early fetch quest though, man, they have a much higher percentage than normal of leading to something good. Let's see if it holds true here.
Magic Bat will curse the Knight Solaire with the power of a piece of heart.
Just a piece of heart. No biggie. I mean, Azder will probably do it later, so it's not like a time loss or anything for Lunchtime here. Surprised Azder didn't menu to the mirror though for this room. Unlike selling the V, using the mirror to delete a block is something he definitely knows about.
Yeah, absolutely. It may just be a slip of the mind that he even has the mirror, honestly.
Leave behind those 20 rupees. Rupees being a big story right now at Lunchtime at 440 last year down to 76. They still don't have logical access to Zora, but that could just pop up here at Mini Moldorm Cave.
Yep, it's an unusually high rupee differential for this early in the seed. Here's his use of the good bee to kill some mini Moldorms.
And I believe the good bee will kill all of them. This doesn't quit.
It didn't do it in the most efficient manner. It kind of made him sweat a little bit, but hey, we got Dark World access at 7 minutes.
Well, that was fast. Azder not even going on to Ice Rod Cave. Says, good enough, Mini Moldorm Cave, let's go.
These kind of seeds are, I don't know about you, but they're love-hate for me. Part of me loves getting that access so early, but there are so many options so quick that routing becomes chaos.
I like to just keep doing the Sphere 1 checks, just do all of them, and then I'll go to the Dark World and see what I can see. As they're starting here in back of Escape, pretty standard to do this immediately after you find gloves.
Piece of heart, a map, and the ice rod. Hey, that might be required. We don't know yet.
Now, he did have the small key from the Sanctuary, but opting to skip Dark Cross. But Dark Cross definitely has an item. We found the map and the small key already. And he goes back to Sanctuary. It looks like we're going to get a Village of Outcasts start.
Definitely seems that way. There's a school of thought on both sides, starting Hype Cave every time and starting Village of Outcasts every time. Both have pretty valid merits to them.
He's not going to Village of Outcasts. We are going to Sequence Break the Mountain. I like this more than going to Village of Outcasts, because like my thinking for Village of Outcasts right now is like, okay, so if I go to Village of Outcasts, I'm definitely full clearing these if it's a crystal, but I'm on 6 hearts, no safeties, and a hammer. Not the easiest fight, and definitely not the fastest clear. But going up to the mountain, this is a lot of item density. He can get to Hera and East Death Mountain. Probably find something nice up there.
Yeah, it's a lot of items, and like I mentioned, East Death Mountain has been a treasure trove for both their races. And if I recall correctly, Azder said it's been that way for pretty much all of his races in this tournament so far. So he may be going up there like, hey, this has been very important lately. I'm just going to keep it up.
And that was a cape and Ice Rod Cave that Azder skipped out on. The cape will be useful for getting through Spike Cave and access to Bumper Ledge if there's something nice in either of those locations.
Yeah, and it's the rare time where you see the cape and don't think, oh no, it's Aghanim.
And lunchtime, immediately going to the Dark World, but this time south of Link South, so this is going to be a Hype Cave check.
Yep, 5 berry. Oh, a bow.
That's a nice find, definitely for Azder. I was a little worried about the mountain this early, just because he might end up like seeing Firelocked Hair or something. But if you can get a bow out of this, that's okay.
And on lunchtime side, we did see a Dark World map check. We have our other red crystal in Skull Woods, and our green pendant at Turtle Rock, because of course we already have the Ice Rod, it's got to be a pendant, and our final pendant at Pod.
And as they're attempting to do a bomb jump there to get out of Spectacle Rock Cave, just a faster way to do this rather than climbing out the bottom and re-climbing the Death Mountain. And I think he's fine with the fact that the bomb jump failed, because he has that bow. That's a lot of stuff he can do now. Unfortunately, one of them is Pendant Eastern.
Yep, and actually both the dungeons that require the bow are pendants, so, But also, yeah, on Hype Cave on lunchtime side, we did find the Flippers and the Cane of Samaria. So actually pretty decent cave. Also, of note, Azder, I think, did an extra save and quit there, because when he saved and quit the first time, he was falling, so he had, I believe, armed EG, and the extra save and quit should have gotten rid of that, if I recall.
Oh, I think I thought he was just like accidentally saving and quitting the Sanctuary, or he changed his mind or something. I don't know anything about EG.
That may be it too. That's the glitch I am least knowledgeable on is EG. But I do know when you save and quit while falling, it's usually bad.
Yeah. So lunchtime headed west from Hype Cave there. He's not going to be able to pick up the Black Rock here, but this is a pretty standard route with the mirror, because he can just mirror at the south of Kakariko, walk through it, and re-enter the Dark World up there. And we're not Firelocked here in Hera. It's good news for Azder.
We're going to be seeing the dig game over on lunchtime side, while Azder works his way through the kind of boring rooms of Hera. Taking a decent number of digs to get this item out of here, and it's all for a piece of heart.
Yeah, we see he mirrors here, and he'll just walk back up through Kakariko. I was kind of hoping he'd do the pyramid to catfish route, since he had the mirror and the cane, because he would be able to mirror and do front of escape, and then mirror again and do the flipper checks with splash deletion. But, you know, never the wrong play to go to Crystal Dungeons you can pull there.
Absolutely, especially when they're right behind another pretty wide swath of items over on East Death Mountain. And we do have an item fire locked in Hera, despite not having, you know, the dungeon fire locked. There is something hiding out down in the basement, you know, that Azder cannot go check.
Oh, we haven't found any items yet?
Nope, Moldorm's gonna drop the first one so far.
Not the end of the world. I mean, Azder might have chosen to skip Hera Basement anyway, even if he had a fire source.
Very true. He gets a vanilla heart container from Moldorm, but he gets his first crystal at 1339, which is not a bad start to this seed.
How do you know it was a vanilla heart container? Maybe that was Helmasaur's heart container and not Moldorm's.
That's fair. I have a hunch. I have a hunch. So, lunchtime over in Village of Outcast, getting a few items here, probably going to dive Thieves Town. And Azder, meanwhile, going over to the very item-rich East Death Mountain.
Yeah, I'd say it's a 100% chance lunchtime full clears Thieves Town here. You don't get this deep in the tournament without being comfortable with 7-heart Fighter Sword blind.
For sure. The only real argument you could make against it would be if, you know, maybe you hadn't done Hype Cave yet and you were coming back this way anyway. And even then, it's still like, you could just get it done while you're here. There's the big key of Thieves Town. You know, you have to find it somewhere in the front. Now, we are getting toward the Paradox Cave check, which will be 7 items, which is obviously, you know, a lot of checks very quickly. But really, outside of that bow, the mountain has not paid off yet.
Yeah, this Paradox Cave is definitely like the reason Azder came to the mountain. I don't think he would have come up to Hera if he couldn't get over to East Death Mountain. But I feel like the bow is enough, you know, to say like this was a good call to come up here just a little early. And boots just make it way better.
Yeah, absolutely. You'll take that payoff. Like, boots aren't gonna win you a race unless it's a hover seed, but they make the entire race feel a lot better.
What a pregnant comment, or poignant is that the word? Comment. I think it's how their last race was a hover seed.
Yep, that makes sense. The other items up there, we got Bombos Medallion, which may or may not be required. We need a medallion for Meyer. We might need it for Ice Palace. And I don't know, I don't think I've missed anything. I think Thieves Town has been pretty devoid of value so far.
He has a Master Sword. Was that in Thieves?
Oh yeah, that must have been in Thieves. I must have missed that looking at Paradox, I guess.
Of course, the Master Sword is not going to do anything for his blind fight. Like, it's a pixel longer than the Fighter Sword, but it doesn't really change the blind script. But for everything else in the game, yeah, it's like twice as good as the Fighter Sword.
Yep, and Azder coming over to Hype Cave to start out over here. He'll get his flippers, he'll get his cane. The question is, does he try to follow that bow independent pod? I doubt it, but it's a viable option.
Yeah, I think Pendant Pod's a little premature at this point. Like Pod is, obviously a very dense location, and it has a high capacity for having something good in this current version of the randomizer. But usually you want to wait till it's at least a little bit in logic before you dip it as a pendant. Azder disagrees though; he's going straight there.
I was gonna say, if this were a lot of people, I'd be a little bit more surprised by his apparent move here. But for Azder, it fits the MO real well.
He's gonna get in a hobo check first, though. Maybe he won't go into Pod afterwards.
It's possible. Hey, a book. That's not quite a full clear desert because they need fire, but it gets them inside.
Yeah, I think he'll definitely wait a bit longer before going there.
Lunchtime in the blind fight. Phase 1 went perfectly on script. Phase 2 went the same way. Phase 3, even if you get a little bit off script, you're usually pretty safe by this point.
Doesn't miss anything. It takes down blind. Super easy. Azder is going into Pod after all. I totally disagree with this call, but that doesn't mean it can't pay off.
On one hand, part of me thinks, but you have Thieves Town. On the other hand, part of me thinks, 5 items in Pod, 3 items in Eastern, 3 items at Sahasrara. That's 11 items you can check relatively quick.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a dense location. It's just like if it was just one pendant dungeon, that's something. Oh, Lunchtime actually finding the other bow here in C-shaped house. So he's gonna be in the same boat as Azder without having to sequence break the mountain.
And for those who may not have been around since V31 dropped, bows were made progressive. So there are 2 bows in the world, and much like swords, shields, swords and shields.
Armor?
Yes, that's what I was looking for. Thank you. Much like those, whichever one you find first is going to be the lowest level. Whichever one you find second is going to be the second level, so on and so forth. So when they each go to the respective second bow location, they will get silver arrows there.
A little surprised to see Azder dipping Eastern first. Pod is the more dense one.
I don't know how it works out in terms of time per item. Like, Pod has more items, but it's also longer.
Well, when I see him going into Eastern first, it makes me think he is intending to full clear both no matter what. Maybe skipping, like, the bosses or something. But, planning to dive into both of these. That's what my concern, though, with coming here so early was, like, you have the whole game to do. And you may end up coming here eventually, but it'd be nice if you came here like 1 or 2 items from Go Mode, and then you could make a nice gamble to leave after like the first chest or something. Where even if he finds something really good right away here in Eastern and Pod, he's going to feel pressured to continue because there might be more with how many items he still needs to finish.
Now you say that, but after a bonk, he mirrored out of Eastern and left.
I don't understand this routing at all.
My inclination is to think that mirror was accidental, and he just said, well, I already went back to the start, I'm leaving. Yeah, but I don't know, you might be playing some Galaxy Brain stuff here.
How many chests did he do in Eastern? Just 2?
Yeah, just the first 2, the Cannonball Room and the Hookshot chest.
I think it was intentional, though. Those are the least punishing chests to grab for Double Dip, right? Because it's at that second chest where you do a direction change and you go left instead of right.
Yeah, that's very true. It's definitely probably the easiest cutoff point. We did find Ether already in here, so that is another maybe required item. And Lunchtime going up the mountain, gonna get his silver arrows, gonna get his boots, gonna get, the thing that I'm forgetting.
Oh,
half magic. That was it. Half magic. Meanwhile, we're going to the right side of Pod looking for, another item. He's gotten 1 so far, so one of these 2 chests could be something other than a small key. Doesn't have to be.
And they're both small keys, so he's going to have to check the vanilla big key chest if he wants to be safe. Lunchtime going for that same bomb jump that Azder went for. He nails it. Good job.
Yeah, it's worth noting when Azder went for it, he was a little bit too far right. There's a dark line on the wall. If you line up the rightmost pixel of your shadow with that dark line, then that's your alignment. Azder was kind of all the way into the wall, and that's why he kind of got knocked down quicker.
I use a visual cue on the telepathic tile myself, and then just walk backwards.
Yeah, I've seen that one too. I haven't actually looked at it myself, but I learned from the Shadow Way, so it's just like second nature to line up that way at this point.
Vanilla big key chest was just a piece of heart. So Azder will be going to the back here. Only one of these chests in the back is in logic. But if you're just skipping the lamp, who cares, right?
Yep, and getting low on health, but a very convenient fairy out of that chest, and we find a shovel.
Watch it lead to the lamp, that'd be so funny.
That would actually be fantastic.
And there's the big key, it looked like. And a small key.
With that, we know that the harmless Hellway is a small key as well.
I'm going after this Hera bomb jump here. Having a little trouble finding the spot to stand at.
It's one of those bomb jumps you're always paranoid about because of how far you fall if you make a mistake.
Oh yeah, it's not worth doing unless you can do it with a 100% success rate for sure. And there's our compass. Looks like we're still missing one more item out of this dark maze.
And he's starting to take some hits here.
Yeah, it's a little rough here without a sword. Not only is it harder to see like where you are compared to the maze itself, but you also have very little protection against these Kadongos.
He managed to kill the one that was giving him so much trouble and gets his 3 bombs as a reward. Yay!
Now he just has to make it out of here, get to the big chest, which, you know, probably has the map or something. Oh, look, the map. Confirmed
Surprise.
item on the boss. But Azder's not interested in going there. Gonna save him quite out. So, I mean, we got something, you know, shovel, ether.
Yeah, shovel could pay off, ether could pay off. They're both kind of delayed items that we don't know the value of yet, though.
Or we'll probably see him head west here this time. Unless he really wants to dip swamp without a hook shot.
I don't think even Azder is that much of a madman. The funny thing is I talk about, you know, things like Azder being a madman, but he plays kind of similar to me. He just kind of follows along the things that seem like decent plays at the moment. Doesn't necessarily try to play along the meta. And sometimes that really pays off for you. Sometimes it can destroy you.
So he'll get his first sword here in K45, but we'll also get to see the shovel check when he goes over to Stumpy. So that'll be our first new information after the pod dip.
And I do have to say that the routing of lunchtime has kind of gotten more progress toward completing the seed, so to speak. But Azder's has gotten him a lot more items.
Yeah, sure. His little tracker is kind of filling up quick.
It'll be interesting to see where these routes converge. It's always the fun part of watching these stupidly early Dark World access seeds. is like I said at the beginning, they have so many options. You know, we've had Dark World access for 20 minutes now, and these two have gone on completely different routes, which isn't a thing you see in all seeds that you run into.
Yeah, I'd say the typical thing we see for most races is runners just doing things. What's the word? Like going in two different directions, doing one thing, and then backtracking and doing each other's thing that the other had done first, and just do that constantly back and forth throughout a seed. But it is not going to be like that today, because I don't see lunchtime going into pod anytime soon.
Yeah, well, they are starting to get a little bit low on locations without the Titan's Myth. That's kind of the next big locker of the seed.
Let's. I have a test for you, Mentos Man, to see if you were truly paying attention to this seed. And it's definitely not a veiled attempt to get you to tell me something that I should know already.
Okay, let's hear it.
Did lunchtime go into Skullwoods?
He did go into Skullwoods.
Okay. I couldn't remember.
Yeah, I know he got a heart container out of there. I believe that's all I saw. I don't think he got a second item.
Do we see Graveyard Ledge then?
We have not seen Graveyard Ledge yet, nor Bonk Rocks and King's Tomb.
Well, lunchtime we'll be able to pair those things together now that it has the boots. And the early cape out of Ice Arcade ended up not being needed for Spike Cave. I mentioned lunchtime did look at Bumper Cave though, right? Since he did have the cape.
I don't recall seeing him do that either. I might have missed something too, but
chat letting us know Bumper Cape was 5 rupees.
Okay, so he did check that.
The cape ended up not being needed for anything. Master's not going to be punished for skipping it for the time being. He may go back and get it later though, especially with the flippers he has.
Then lunchtime going back of escape, gonna get that, not quite required ice rod and head through. I'm guessing the Dark Cross at this point. He's got the sword, he's got his locations lowering down.
I think Dark Cross is a pretty easy call right here. You know it's an item because you just found the map and you already have the key. So assuming Dark Cross is nothing, what do we expect to see lunchtime do next? I'm leaning towards doing catfish into flipper checks. But, he may go into pod like Azder did.
Yeah, I could see a good route come together of going up to Pyramid Ledge, doing front of escape, and then going up to Catfish, mirroring, doing the flipper stuff. That would work out real smooth.
It's not like the most dense layout of items for routing and all that, but each of those individually is like really kind of inefficient. So being able to pair them together like that, it feels really good.
Yeah, half of routing is, hey, $20 in Dark Cross. Half of routing is knowing what's available to you and what's going to get you a lot of checks quick. The other half is knowing how to minimize the time longer checks take.
Lunchtime going to Sanctuary here. Will this be our King's Tomb Bumper Cave check?
Very well could be. As they're making his way through Thieves Town, we got the Master Sword already. There's nothing else in here. He's just gonna clear out this dungeon nice and smooth.
Oh, Graveyard Ledge, not Bumper Cave. Right.
I didn't even catch that. If you hadn't said that, I wouldn't have even noticed.
It's essentially the same thing, right?
Basically.
Within a whole screen of each other. I guess 2 screens.
To be fair, it's a lot easier to major glitch up to Bumper Cave than it is to major glitch to Graveyard Ledge.
Learn something new every day.
So yeah, we get lunchtime headed over back down this way. Like you said, I think this is the Graveyard Ledge King's Tomb. We'll be getting a little bit more new information. Yeah. He could carry this on to Catfish from here as well.
I don't know why he left the woods like that, though. Like, instead of going up into the Skullwoods area. to leave through the east exit. I've never timed it. I always assumed it would be faster to go through Skullwoods.
Well, see, I'd make the opposite assumption that would be slower, but I couldn't say that with confidence. That's
Just
another big 20.
You know, he could hop over and go Catfish Zora checks from here and skip out on Pyramid Escape. Maybe that's what he intends to do. That would explain why he chose these 2 locations rather than those, like, 9 locations.
Yeah, definitely a equally viable route. It's a little bit easier to find an excuse for escape.
Azder showing off his blind script as well, just as good as Lunchtime's.
A response to chat, the blind pun there was Maya requires Ether, Quake, or Bombos. As a couple people have said as well, the blind dialogue is always a joke. There are a variety of puns in there. Honestly, too many puns for the amount of time people actually pay attention to them.
There are silver arrows for Azder, and Lunchtime is heading over to Catfish, or he can then mirror and do the flipper checks.
Forgot briefly that he did not have Titan's Mitt, and then did his bomb.
So yeah, this works out pretty good because then he'll be able to do Pyramid and the Escape and Hobo together, and maybe like on his way to Pod or something.
Very true, and another big 20 from Catfish. Thanks, buddy.
At this point, you got to think there's got to be something here behind the flippers, right? Like, we're running out of locations.
I'm gonna laugh when Titan's Mitt is just hanging out in Zelda's cell.
Or sitting on the pyramid or something, yeah.
Now we are heading up to Zora. There's going to be the 1 check here, which is the single arrow. Nobody's going to take the time to pick that up.
Speak for yourself, Mentos, man.
Listen, if you're in an elimination game...
Okay, I wouldn't do it in a race, but like in a scene by myself, yeah, I'm going to get that just because it's funny.
That's fair. That is fair. Hey, another big 20.
Yeah, nothing here from these flipper checks. Oh my gosh. The Escape's looking pretty darn good, but Lunchtime may opt to go into Pod instead. Yeah, it could also be Eastern, because we only saw those first 2 checks. There are more in logic there.
Yeah, it looks like Eastern is where Lunchtime is headed. It could be a little bit of a fault in otherwise what would have been great routing by Azder if it turns out that Eastern is the key.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, with Azder already having done Pod up to Helmasaur and already done the first part of Eastern, like, it's going to be a long time before he ever makes a call to go back into there. Like, given what's available in the game, I would expect him to last location it if that's the only place we can find progression. Oh, but this book, though, I forgot about the book. Desert Palace is also a potential place to find progression. It's just, we don't got that fire source yet, so you don't really want to go there.
Yeah, you hate to run. Like, if you had Flute, sure, but running all the way to Desert using the book to open it just feels bad when you know you can't clear it.
Okay, Lunchtime's going into the Dark World. Alright, so we're probably going to see Bombo's tablet.
Either that, or this is the pyramid to escape. But no, we're going south.
Oh, and Swamp. I didn't want to mention it. But yeah, Swamp is also a place we can go.
Technically.
Given all our options, I would definitely favor the Escape.
I'd just like to point out that Azder just checked the Lumberjack Cave for the second time this scene. Yeah, he must have forgotten that he checked it at the very beginning.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, he's the one who checked it. Okay. It's kind of weird.
That's I think that's kind of a sign of, if anything, the pressure that a game 3 like this has, in that you just have those moments where the things that normally lock into your head just vanish.
But yeah, given the options that our runners have right now, everything is just a little bit terrible. So I'd honestly be favoring Pyramid and the Escape. Especially because the small key was in the Sanctuary chest. So the small key logically locks the boom chest and Zelda's cell. And if it's in the dark cross chest, then you need the lamp to do that. But with the small key being in Sanctuary, those are already in logic without having to even check dark cross. As our lunchtime heading on to Desert Palace with that book, we did see a third sword on the ledge here. Nice item to find, but not really locking anything.
Yeah, it's definitely something you want, and the sooner you get it, the better. Like, if Lunchtime found a fire source in here and ended up being able to full clear this while he's here, that would be like a definitive time save getting that sooner.
Yeah, fire source is definitely the big ticket item here in Desert Palace. But even something like Mitts wouldn't be bad to find. Hook shot would be great, pretty great. Swamp looks less terrible then.
And we find the compass, so if we find the map in either of the right side chests, then we know there's an item on Land Molus. If not, then we will obviously have both items and maybe something important.
Kind of an unfortunate situation here because, like, if you go to the right side, like, you don't want to have to come back to the left. But there's a sword on the ledge, and you want to go grab that. So Lunchtime's actually going to go grab the sword first and then head to the right side.
I don't know if that's faster than just running to the right and then mirroring and going back left from the center. I'm not really sure.
I don't think there's a big time difference between coming from the center and coming from the left, right?
I don't think so.
Like, they should be pretty close. I think center might be like a tiny bit faster.
These are the questions that never occur to me when I'm actually playing this game, but when I watch other people play this game, I'm like, hey, which of these is going to be fast?
Fire source in desert. So Lunchtime's actually punished for going to get the sword first, but it'll work out fine.
Now he can just mirror back to the left side and then go out and fight Lambo.
Yep, mirror works.
That's an interesting spot for the lamp.
Yeah, that's a pretty gross requirement to force somebody to walk into desert the vanilla way without a fire source when you know it's a crystal. So what does the lamp actually do for us, though, besides this crystal boss? It's going to put Pod and Easter in logic, as well as everything that we found on the mountain. Hera Basement is a new check we can do now.
Oh, Lord, Hera Basement. It also, yeah, it puts Helmasaur in logic. Not a whole lot else in that. It puts the rest of Eastern in logic too, I guess.
Yeah, I got I don't know what Lunchtime's going to do. I imagine he goes to Pod after this, though. Like, the lamp and the bow makes Pod look way juicier than it did before.
And Azder, meanwhile, going to be doing the pyramid check into the front of Escape. If he finds progression here, he's not going to feel great about it.
No progression on Land Molus. And nothing on the pyramid.
And he conveniently mirrors directly on top of some bushes and gets bonked right back to the Dark World.
Oh yeah, Front of Escape looking even better for Azder here because he hasn't done the uncle drop yet. Nothing to be had here at the uncle drop, but 2 items is better than 5, or the other way around. 5 is better than 2. Whatever.
Yes, and lunchtime is over on his way to Eastern, so we'll be seeing soon what Azder left behind by dipping out of Eastern so quickly.
Well, you say that, but like we're definitely going to be opening pod at the same time. So there's a chance that lunchtime just doesn't go into Eastern. But with how little was actually in pod, I think you're right. He probably will be headed into Eastern soon.
Yeah, unless like Helmasaur has mitts, maybe a dip out of pod, but and don't go to Eastern. But as long as it's not pretty much anything that isn't mitts, you're probably gonna do Eastern.
Yeah, what I expect to see here is him do pod except for Helma. Then, you know, if like Shovel and Ether is just not good enough, so you go into Eastern, you full clear that. And if that's nothing, then go back in and kill Helmasaur. But like the second you find something really awesome, like you just leave this entire area.
Yeah, pretty much.
The mushroom is not really awesome.
There was a time when it could have been.
Yeah, that would have been nice to have when he was walking over to Catfish, for sure.
And escape is just tons of money.
Did we see Aster turn in the mushroom?
We did. It was a heart container.
Ah.
Okay, we are coming up on Zelda's cell, which is the last item here. Master Sword, no more effective against Ball and Chain than Fighter Sword.
Just 10 arrows.
He's going to go ahead and do Dark Cross as well, since he didn't do that earlier, and then he's done here.
Yeah, Aster's got to be feeling pretty desperate at this point.
Yeah, what do you think? Desert or because it's Azder Swamp Dive?
I think he'll go to Desert first, but like save the portal, like sitting outside Swamp or something. Like, cause did we see Bombo's tablet? I don't think we've seen Bombo's tablet.
Lunchtime checked it. It was
I know for Aster.
Oh yes, for Azder he hasn't done anything book required.
So I think what he'll do is he'll go to Bombo's tablet and then he'll re-enter the Dark World at the Bombo's tablet and then leave a portal sitting to the right so that he can go into Desert, and if Desert fails him, he'll be able to just run over and enter that portal again. At least that's what I would do.
It seems like a very decent routing choice. I think the argument that you could make for Swamp is mostly that it has more items than Desert and you can't full clear either of them, but
looks like we're going Swamp. All right.
Yeah, new information. Who needs that stinky old lamp over in Desert? And look, we've seen progress. Azder now knows how to mirror erase blocks.
Nice. I think it's a little gambly to not do Bombo's tablet first, though, right? Because that might just be the hook shot, and like, oh my god, did I just do left side Swamp when the hook shot was right outside?
Yes, but at the same time, it's a long walk out of the way, and if you have to go to Desert after the Swamp Dive, then you're just wasting a bunch of time. So I get both arguments. And from our viewer perspective, we're getting to the point where we know Swamp probably has something.
Yeah, it's looking pretty good for Swamp at this point.
Let's see, other than this, we've got the remaining items in Eastern, the item on Helmasaur. We have not seen Ether Tablet. We've seen Bombos, but not Ether.
Hera Basement.
Good old Hera Basement.
Unless I'm almost accidentally opening the Harmless Hellway door. That would have been annoying to do. You got pretty close to it.
That's when you just go do the hammer jump and say, I'm just not opening the door to the dark
Right.
maze. So we know that the first chest in Swamp was a compass. We're coming up on the second. But with a compass there, we know at least one item is on left side, so it's definitely worth doing.
All right, Lunchtime finishes pod up to Helmasaur, choosing not to do Helmasaur, so mirror over to Eastern Palace.
Now this could be very disappointing for Azder if the progression is in Eastern.
Oh yeah, it's gonna ruin his day if it's in Eastern. Because like I said before, like he's already been here. He already did everything around it. It will be his last location. But you know, I still have hope for left side Swamp. Like it could just be Swamp.
I'm honestly kind of rooting for Swamp just because it's so very rude that they had access to this immediately when they got into Dark World, and no one did it, and it was right there.
Yeah, and they keep finding like the bow and the lamp and the boots and the book. Like, why would you go to Swamp?
You know, the seed gave you the mirror, the flippers, the hammer. It gave you all of that before you even got to Dark World. You know, it must have been Swamp, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Sometimes my mind actually works like that when I'm playing rando, and then I don't get anything and I just kind of die a little bit inside.
We got a big key.
On both sides.
So we know at least one item will be locked behind left side Swamp. It might be behind that big key, but it could still be two items. So Azder's going to go back for this vanilla big key chest.
And second item in Eastern is the level 1 shield, not really value.
Just 50 rupees. Okay, we still got the big chest. The big chest could be the answer.
One item left in Swamp before we get to the point where we're down to just awful locations.
So I know not everybody puts as much faith into logic reading, but the main reason I really wouldn't want to do Swamp in this particular seed is because the flippers led to the book. I would have definitely favored going into Desert because of that. Just a map. So only one item locked on the left side, and it was only 50 rupees. And Lunchtime not going on to Armos Knights or Helmasaur King.
And we're tight enough on locations that that's costly.
Did he get 3 items in Eastern?
I didn't catch, but we know there was an item on Helmasaur. I know Azzer got one item while he was there checking the first 2 chests. We saw the big key and a shield. I believe, yeah, all 3 items in Eastern. He did get one at the vanilla big key.
Okay, a little surprised to see him not go after Helmasaur then. I mean, it's a really slow single item check, but like you're pretty deep in the well at that point, right? Having done everything else except for Helmasaur, including Eastern Palace.
Yeah, so at this point we got Ether Tablet, Hera Basement, Helmasaur, and that's it, I believe.
And it looks like Lunchtime's actually going to go to Swamp Palace. So Acer is going to be refunded that time that he spent there, because Lunchtime's going to spend that same time there. Well, oh, no, he's not going to Swamp. My bad. Oh, he still has the escape. Yeah, this is Pyramid into Escape.
Yeah, you
Which
gotta...
was empty too, so...
Yep, still just a refund on time to Azder. These two were wildly divergent to begin with, but as these locations dwindle and these items become harder and harder to find, they're just kind of now slowly covering everything the other person has done. So what's your bet? Are we thinking Ether Tablet, the Hera Basement, or Helmasaur?
Helmasaur.
I'm gonna go with and Hera Basement because of bad personal experiences.
I like the logic reading. You know, it's not always reliable or whatever, but like we have the bows and then the lamp is our most recent progression. So bow hasn't led to anything, and the lamp hasn't led to anything. That says to me Palace of Darkness, and because we knew it was empty, except for Helmasaur, I feel like it has to be Helmasaur.
See, I'm not a big logic reading type in general, so my thoughts are more so based on, in reality, my thoughts on which to route would pretty much always be Hera, just because you've got the Ether Tablet and Hera Basement right there, versus just Helmasaur for lunchtime. For Azder, he's still got 2 more items in Eastern Palace, so I think for him going back for Helma makes more sense.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think like routing efficiency and density should also play a part in routing. But I try to keep the logic in mind as well, and the spheres and all that stuff. And you know, about 10% of the time it works 100% of the time, so not bad.
That's about the same odds as anything else in random, so it's perfect. Okay, so lunchtime done with escape, as they're about to be done with desert. Lunchtime could dive swamp now. He could go do something else. There aren't many other something else's he could do.
Portal. He's going Helma? No.
Oh, he's going to turn in that mushroom that he got at Summit.
Right. Yeah.
I am interested that he went back to the Dark World, though, because that kind of implies to me that he's considering going back to Helma next.
Well, this is faster, because you can do the mirror bonk. So he slashes this bush here, and then he's going to re-enter his portal from the top, and that'll put him on the bush, which mirror bonks him back to the light world, and automatically turns in the mushroom.
Ah, that's right. That's right. Perfect land molus by Azder. It gets his big 20 and goes, well, as a reminder for those of you tuning in late, we had Dark World access at 7 minutes. 7 minutes flat. And we're now at 55 minutes and still don't have Titan's mids or really anything we can do crystal related.
Okay, this has to be swamp for lunchtime.
Yeah, I don't blame him at all for making this play. It is far and away the most items he's going to get out of anything.
And looks like Azder is headed back to Eastern.
I'm guessing he'll go through Eastern before trying to kill Helmasaur.
Yeah, I don't think he'll even enter the Dark World. Oh, he is, actually. All right. So he's prepared to kill Helmasaur, is what this says to me.
And so our moment of truth on this location that, you know, he was right by, but not really in a great position to check earlier. Like, I don't know about you, but swordless turtle room with no lamp or fire rod. I don't want to ever do that.
I definitely would not have done it with the number of hearts that he had at that point, although I would do it with like 11 like he has now, if I was in that same situation again. I'm really surprised Azder hasn't made his way to like Ice Rod Cave yet, right? I guess his thinking is, you know, well, I skipped it early, so if it's something, I already lost the race, so screw it.
Yeah, I think that's falling into the same category as Pendant Thieves Town did for him in Game 1 yesterday. Just like, no, my opponent definitely went there. They have this item. I can't do this.
Oh, Azder actually going to Helmasaur first. Eastern Palace, I thought looked better for him, but maybe this is the God Vision getting him to Helmasaur King. Or maybe he also pays attention to item launching.
It could just be to save the mirror transition. As slow as it sounds, you just kind of go, okay, I'm just gonna do both of these regardless. So right now, we're looking for the flute to access Mire alongside the mids. We need the hookshot to finish Swamp, the fire rod to finish Skull Woods. The mids would also let us enter T-Rock, but not clear it. Either way, we're getting close to Helmasaur. If the item is on Helmasaur, I feel like that's probably worse for lunchtime. If it's not here, then he might have a slight advantage going up Death Mountain.
Yeah, I mean, Death Mountain definitely doesn't look bad. I certainly wouldn't say it's the wrong call by any means. I mean, we know that the lamp was logically required to get to Death Mountain in the first place.
One silver arrow to Helmasaur's face, so what's it gonna be?
Hey!
Oh, really?
10% of the time, 10% of the time, logic reading is correct 100% of the time. Trust me on
Of all the things that could have been, the hookshot, right after he dives Swamp without it.
Yeah, so we are definitely going right back to Swamp here. That's the only thing the hookshot's doing for us right now.
Is this where we cue up the Benny Hill music?
Every time somebody says that, I try to remember what that song sounds like, and the only thing I can think of is the circus noise. But I know that's the wrong song.
That's the I am so not going any farther with that button. So yeah, we are headed right back into Swamp. And lunchtime will soon be getting kicked out of the Swamp, and we'll have the choices to make of the Ether Tablet and Hera Basement, or back to Helmasaur, where we know at least some progression is.
So this really brings me back to how both of our runners went to Pod, and both of them, after finding essentially nothing in Pod or Eastern, said, you know what, I don't need that item on Helma. It's a very surprising call to me, but you know, at this stage of the race, you gotta save, or at this stage of the tournament, you gotta save the time you can save, right? And Helmasaur just looked a little too horrible for both of them. Luckily, Azder did make his way back there and found this progression. Of course, this doesn't preclude item being on Ether Tablet or what's it called? Hera Basement either. So like even if lunchtime goes there first, it doesn't mean he's not finding progression. Forgot
Very
something, Azder.
And lunchtime is headed straight back over to the Pod area. He's not going for that Death Mountain play, so he's gonna be, you know, behind Azder, but right on his tail.
So, you know, we've kind of come to a head here, right? Like both of our runners have done almost all of the exact same locations, just in different orders, and it really shows the difference between them right now. Azder has a pretty significant lead, and it's mostly execution and routing.
Yeah, I feel like he's had a little bit of an edge in routing, but oh hey, it's Titan's Mitts. Who would have guessed?
Everybody. Literally everybody.
There weren't a lot of options left. So at this point, you just go right up East Death Mountain, right? You don't go for like fancy, let's go to Ice Palace looking for the flute. You go up East Death Mountain, right?
I'd be tempted. I'd be really tempted to go into Ice Palace. Mostly just because the mitts are in Swamp, so it's like right there, you know?
True, and I think there's arguments to be made both ways. I think it also impacts depending on how you feel about things. Like, you know, Azder mentioned yesterday that all his tournament seeds so far have been go to get East Death Mountain access and get go mode. So he might be thinking, you know, oh, it's this again, and go right back up there.
Yeah, East Death Mountain is definitely the more dense of the two options. But, you know, they're not even the only options. Like, the Smith sequence might be holding our progression for all we know.
And Argus is also holding our progression. That's a fire rod.
I think that changes things. Let's go Skull Woods.
Yeah, I think you go Skull Woods.
Yeah, then go TR.
Not just because Crystal you can full clear, but you now can full clear T-Rock. And the only item you still need is the flute, which can be on pedestal. So if you go clear Skull Woods, you can check the pedestal, see, do I need that green pendant and other pendant? Or you can just, you know, not go do them.
After actually going Ice Palace, I don't think this is an Ice Run cave check.
Yeah, this is 100% going to be Ice Palace, but he does want to check Hylia Island here first, just to make sure.
So Azder with about a dungeon lead over lunchtime here.
About a half dungeon, because as lunchtime did do the front of Swamp already as well.
Well, I was just thinking, like all the dungeons are different lengths, and like the back of Swamp is about the same size as like all of Desert.
Okay, that's fair. I can give you that. So yeah, we got 3 items to find in Ice Palace, and one of them could be the flute, or none of them could be.
So my instinct here would be to just mostly go mode Ice Palace, like only check this chest and the Freezor chest, and the big chest if I happen to find the big key, and then, you know, just hope that the flute's not in here. Go to Skull Woods, full clear that, and then go to the mountain, and if it's not there, then I just lose the race.
Yeah, that's a reasonable way to play it. You know, I personally hate leaving ice early if I might have to come back there, just because it's so slow to get to where the items are.
I think it also depends on like how many items you find in these first 2 locations. Like, you did find one of the 3 items in the Pengator room. If you find a second one in the Freezor room, like, it's really tempting to just go kill Cold Stare.
True, and I think it might also have an impact how you feel about your position in the race. Did your opponent also get that hook shot really late? Do you think they got it super early? How you feel about that might influence how thorough you want to be.
And I think it's safe to say for both of our runners that they feel pretty behind. Like, both of them double dipping Pod and nearly last locationing that hook shot. Double dipping Swamp in addition to that. Like, it does not feel good for either of our runners.
Yeah, it wasn't a great hookshot location, especially with where the lamp ended up being. But that doesn't necessarily mean you feel good, like, oh yeah, my opponent surely missed that too.
So Azder checks the Freezor chest. It's just a compass, so still only 1 item so far in this dungeon. But he'd have to go like the super long way to get to other items from this point. So it looks like we are just go-moding, going straight to Cold Stare.
Yep, this could pay off big, or it could lose you the race. It's kind of one of those game-deciding gambles sometimes. And Lunchtime gets his mitts and goes, oh, okay. Soon he'll be getting his fire rod off of Argus and being like, really?
Nice slash fight there from Azder. Kept him on the corner the whole time. Not super easy to do.
Not at all. And that is another crystal and no flute on the boss, no item on the boss. So 2 items left behind in Ice Palace there.
I just answer Hitsuyan, and I think he probably realizes this already, but just for everybody else. So the reason, like, if you're gonna go mode Ice Palace and you're committing to not full clearing it, the reason you do it first is if it happens to be in those first 2 locations around the boss, then you get to skip everything else. So rather than waiting to find the flute and coming back here, you might be like super rewarded for going to Ice Palace first.
Yeah, pretty much. And Lunchtime had a little bit quicker Argus fight there, mostly because Azder took a few Ice Rod shots at Argus and, didn't get it to work out great. Lunchtime just went with a silver arrow and said, no, you can have this.
On that little poke dash on the picket, I've never seen that before.
I didn't even notice, honestly.
And, usually I walk down to the bottom right corner and just dash up through him. But Azder just murdered him.
So as they're coming in here to this middle chest, I'm surprised neither of them checked this earlier, but hey, we checked it now. It was a map. They made a good call.
I usually, ever since they changed the pinball key, I usually just check that one first now. It's usually slower, but sometimes it saves me.
I just do the room to the right of the big chest entrance and then drop down the hole I used to drop down all the time like normal.
Yeah, I think that it makes it like very, very unlikely you're going to be forced to save and quit, but I don't think it covers it entirely if you didn't get a small key.
It does cover it entirely, actually, because Mothula can't have a small key. So you've got the chest in the back under the bridge, you got the vanilla big key chest, and the 3 chests left. Oh, I guess if you get the big key in that chest, in one of those 3 chests, and the small key is in the big chest. So yeah, it's not 100%.
Yeah, it's close to it though. Like it's pretty very, very unlikely you would be forced to save and quit after checking 1 chest. Very quick fight there from Azder, especially with that poke dash to finalize it.
Yep, and that is crystal number 6. We're just waiting on the flute. Also, you gotta love when you start talking about something and just immediately figure out what you're talking about while you're talking about it.
Who in the what now?
When you're
what are you talking about?
Like when I started talking about the Skullwood's keys and realized midway through the sentence, like, no, I'm wrong, and this is the right answer. And it's just like, well, I gotta somehow keep this sentence going.
Well, I definitely maintain that I can be wrong about things. Like it happens all the time. So not super not super worried about it. I was all ready to get taught by something. As they're going after pedestal here, it makes sense. Like in this area, like the flute can be on pedestal. We do have access to all 3 pendants.
Yeah, so our choices are, we know Eastern doesn't have it, so we have that Hera Basement, the Ether Tablet, all of T-Rock, and Dark Death Mountain. I'm gonna bet on Dark Death Mountain.
I think it's on Laser Bridge.
You are a crueler human than I, but I respect it.
I just think it's most likely like TR has as many items locked behind it as the overworld checks. And if there is an item in TR, it's usually on Laser Bridge because of the way the keys work.
Yeah, it definitely makes a lot of sense to bet on that side of things. Lunchtime now getting his ped check and seeing, nope, not pedestal, thank you.
So this should be pretty easy to predict what Azder's going to do from here. Like he will almost definitely do the overworld checks before going into TR, just because they are so much faster. And then if TR ends up having nothing, he still has Spike Cave, I think. Only Lunchtime did that. As well as Hair Basement.
Yep, and Lunchtime is going up Death Mountain before going to Ice Palace, so if we do find a flute up here, that leaves Azder with a bit of a lead, but it's very close right now. Well, no, I take it back. Azder has Ice Palace done, so he's got a actually decent-sized lead now that I use my brain.
Yeah, not doing Ice first means that Lunchtime will have an easier time making the decision to go back there, whereas they're like it would be just for the items, not the items and the crystal. So like Lunchtime is in a better position to say skip Hair Basement and the green pendant turn in and just go to Ice Palace. If in the situation where the flute is not up here.
It's very true. And we're going to get the opposite checks from these two at about the same time. Piece of Heart and 300 rupees, another Piece of Heart in Super Bunny Cave. 3 bombs, 100 more rupees. Very boring so far. And the party says no.
Taking the fall.
Okay, we're going for take 2 here. So those 20 rupees were real important to that Bari. He really wanted them.
Well, looks like we are going into Turtle Rock for sure.
If I can't really see a world where you don't dive into T-Rock here.
It wouldn't be like the craziest thing in the world for Lunchtime to leave and just go to Ice Palace, but yeah, I think Turtle Rock is absolutely the correct play.
They're going to be pretty synced up going into T-Rock, though. As there's going to be a little bit ahead getting in there, but not by much. So enjoy them, you know, competing in this dungeon for a little while. So I'm thinking Lunchtime's best bet of making this time up is for the flute to be an Ice Rod Cave and Azder to go finish up TR and then go to do Smith Chain, all that stuff before going back there.
You meant Ice Palace, but yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. I think Lunchtime will definitely do Ice Palace before Smith Sequence. You said Ice Rod Cave, just if you were aware.
Whoops. Yeah, that's it's close to right. But yeah, I was mentioned in chat, if the flute is in T-Rock, this is basically Azder's game to lose. Ice Palace in Go mode isn't the worst dungeon in terms of time, but it's close to it. Answering the question in chat, this is game 3 of the losers bracket side of this group. The Azder was the 1 seed of this group. Lunchtime was the 2 seed. They meet up here in an elimination match, and Lunchtime took game 1, Azder took game 2, and now here we are seeing who can come out on top and move into the 64-man bracket.
Lunchtime don't scare me like that. He cape dashed to the exit of the Spike Girl room.
But, God, I was gonna say, I think I missed something.
He canceled his cape like right before entering the door. Which is if your cape deactivates as you go through a doorway, it like breaks the game.
I think he has a blue potion, so he would have been able to recover. It just would have wasted the potion and a decent chunk of time.
Well, like you get like stuck in the doorway and you have to mirror back to the entrance.
Boy, map and vanilla big key chest. Your laser bridge prediction is looking more likely.
It's a little too high on his dash there, was Azder. But he's got like 1,000,000 hearts and Buko's a magic. I don't think he cares. Lunchtime, however, oh my gosh.
Yeah,
That'd be
getting a
fun
little
at
bit
first.
low here. He's got the powder as safety.
Pokey
Also,
giving
that
Azder
pokey.
trouble, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the pokies are really, really weird in like how their health works because they have multiple bodies or something. And if you do a double spin with the tempered sword, it two-shots them. If you poke it first, and then it takes like 5 spins or something.
Yeah, moral of the story is either use Fire Rod or don't miss that first spin. And I do always like to see people making the good routing here of going to do the big chest and then coming back out for Mimic Cave. Significantly faster if your item is in the big chest, minorly slower if it's not.
Yeah, the idea there is that if the flute was in the big chest, then he gets to skip Mimic Cave. Although, honestly, I'm not sure I'd want to skip anything here. Just because, like, even if we do find the flute, that's not for sure go mode. It could still be Quake, right?
This is true. We have not obviously seen the Meyer medallion. It could just be Quake and a slap in the face waiting for them.
Being this close to the end of the dungeon, I think I'd favor full clearing this no matter what.
A flute on Laser Bridge, Quake on Green Pendant. I'm sorry if that comes true, but that is the meanest thing I can think of right now. And we are getting close to that Laser Bridge set of checks. We've got just this room to get through, some fire to eat to the face, and then we'll be there to go check those last 4 chests in TR.
Gotta answer chat. It would be mean if it was a Quake on Green Pendant, because if they find the flute here, they might not kill Helmosaur or
Like
Trinex.
that.
Speaking of, yeah, Azder
So-
finds the flute in the first chest and Laser Bridge immediately mirrors out. So if the Quake is in TR, Azder basically just lost the race if Lunchtime doesn't do that as well.
I mean, he doesn't have a whole lot left, so he would probably get back up there quick, but...
Yeah. And it's probably not Quake, to be honest. Like, it's unlikely to be Quake.
Yeah, this is our amusing thoughts of how to have the runners be in pain, but not the likely answer.
And looks like Lunchtime will do the same thing that Azder did. So even if it is that really horrible possibility, they're in the same boat. God, it's so surprising me. Why do you not finish it? It's right there.
I mean,
They probably feel pretty behind, both Double Dipping Pot and Swamp.
Yeah, I was gonna say, with the way the seed has played out, you can't feel good about it. And in an elimination game, you gotta take that risk, you know?
Right, so if this is not Quake, Ether or Bombos, if it's Ether or Bombos, then Azder has a fairly good lead here over Lunchtime, who still has to go back to Ice Palace. It is...
Oh,
my
no!
God!
Oh no!
Ruined! Oh no!
Please be in Meyershed.
So this whole seed's up in the air right now. I have no idea what's gonna happen. Quake has to be somewhere, but it can be anywhere. So Hair Basement's still in play. The rest of Laser Bridge, Trinex, Green Pendant still in play. Ice Palace, right side, still in play.
Yeah, and if you're rooting
Pyramid
for Lunchtime here,
The
you wanted that to happen. If you're rooting for Azder, not great for him. If you're rooting for Lunchtime, this is the ideal outcome. Even though he's going to be pretty upset when he gets over here in a moment.
So Azder, given the options he has, they're all terrible. Looks like he's opting for Ice Rock Cave. Okay.
Like, okay,
right.
Fine, I'll do it.
An hour, 20 minutes in. You know what? Ice Rock Cave's suddenly looking good. Let's do it.
I like
what I wanted to say
right away.
So given Azder's options right now, like going back up to Hair Basement and TR is like kind of the worst thing ever. Going back into Ice Palace is kind of the worst thing ever, so I expect him to do Smith Sequence and or Pyramid Fairy.
Also, incidentally, Laser Bridge was not in Logic without that cape. So
No, it was. It was. They changed that for V31.
what would it have been in there with?
What?
What would it have been in Logic with?
Oh, nothing. They took out the need for the cape, cane, and mirror shield. It's in Logic with nothing.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Walk skips are in Logic now, basically. So Azder actually going back up the mountain immediately for just Spike Cave. No Hair Basement, no TR. Okay. Not surprising, given that he just found the cape for the first time, but...
Yeah, and I don't know why, but I conflated Laser Bridge and Spike Cave in my head, and that was the cause of my confusion.
They talked about removing or changing the logic for Spike Cave and then ended up not doing it. So Spike Cave is still on 3-heart logic with a cape and a magic extension or the Cane of Burna.
Okay, we're getting a new check on lunchtime side. The big bomb that was unlocked by clearing Skull Woods.
Looks like Azder's going to make the same play, going straight to Pyramid Fairy.
I am really surprised that lunchtime has not dipped ice yet.
Oh, lunchtime tried to do the bomb dupe, but he didn't cancel his dash fast enough on the turn there, and wasn't able to make it to the transition fast enough. He'll have to go back for the big bomb.
Oof.
All right, he has 10 more attempts at this though. I doubt he'll do it a second time.
I was gonna say it's probably gonna be a one and done.
I mean, it's a nifty little time save to do the bomb dupe, but failing it is pretty disastrous.
See, I'm surprised lunchtime hasn't dove ice yet, but I assume he's gonna go there after the big bomb.
Yeah, ice is definitely yeah, I think that's absolutely the right play. He probably should have done that before Pyramid Fairy, honestly. But who knows? Maybe this is just Quake.
I think that would be the worst possible answer for him.
Just 40 rupees and all of Pyramid Fairy. We're gonna have to leave.
That fairy is pretty broke, huh?
Yeah, definitely. All right, so Azder Smith Sequence, right? And Lunchtime Ice Palace? Surely. Nope, Azder's going back to TR.
No.
Changed his mind again. Alright, it was a misclick. Okay, they're both going back to Ice Palace.
Okay, 2 items remaining here we haven't seen. We saw the first chest, the Freezor chest, and nothing. But where...
Oh. What? We haven't seen this for Azder?
I thought he mirrored when he did Catfish. Did he not have money for Zora?
That must be it. Must be missing Zora money. Because I'm pretty sure he did the flipper checks, but I don't know.
Well, at least he knows better than we do. That's a good sign.
Okay, now you do Smith Sequence, right, Azder?
I mean, you got... I forget how many items are left in T-Rock, but you got a couple between Laser Bridge and Trinex, but a very long walk to them.
Yeah. Like, going to TR it's not, like, the worst thing to do. Like, I wouldn't be that surprised if he went there right now. But it's not something you really want to do. Because the real problem with going to TR it's not just the TR dip, it's Hair Basement too. If you're going up to the mountain to do TR, you finish TR and you get nothing, you are in a position where you gotta have to do Hair Basement, right? Like, coming back here for like a 5th time, it's the worst thing ever.
Yeah, I think it would be hard to argue that skipping the basement would be a good idea.
I guess the green pendant's a possibility. Like maybe you skip it just because you can go turn in the green pendant, but it'd be really tough not to do hair basement if you're on the mountain for one extra time.
Yeah, like the first trip to T-Rock, you're betting on Quake Quake not being required. Sure, skip hair basement. The second time you go to T-Rock, you just need to get it done.
So the order of the day here is, where is the Quake? If it's in Hammer Pegs, azder has a pretty significant lead. It is not. If it's in Ice Palace, which Lunchtime's headed to new checks here at Ice Palace right now, Lunchtime will have the significant lead.
Yeah, at this point, they're almost to, a point where just whoever finds the item, it wins.
All right, item 2 in Ice Palace was just a heart container. I think it was item 2. We didn't get anything on Cold Stare, right?
Yeah, Cold Stare was a small key.
Okay.
And get the purple chest check very quickly with the flute.
Just a big key there. Moving up to the vanilla big key chest.
So there's a small key.
So we got there's the Quake medallion. Purple chest was the play. Smith sequence with all the goods. Azder is in go mode.
Yep, and this has been a heck of a seed. Purple chest for go mode with how late mitts were is awful. But credit where it's due. The lead that azder has right now is part based on execution, and part he tended to route things together a little bit more smoothly through this seed. For as wacky as his plays seem, for as many awkward double dips as he had right alongside Lunchtime, a lot of things he just seemed to get connected a little bit smoother, and it started to add up.
Yeah, right until the end when he went to Spike Cave, Ice Rod Cave, and Zora. Anyway.
Yeah, that part kind of undid some.
He already had a lead. He already had the lead at that point. Finding the Quake medallion first just cements it.
So, what do you think? We get a Godmire as an apology for that seed?
I don't understand. How could it possibly be Godmire? We're in go mode. I've done Mire 100,000 times. I've never seen Godmire in go mode. What?
Well, there you go. Congratulations.
I didn't even think that was possible.
So now I'm assuming he's gonna powder the Sandy Fairy here, right? No, just gonna skip it. To be fair, I know azder runs low percent, so 4 hearts and Tempered Sword and Blue Mail is a lot better than he is familiar with.
Yeah, and he can not powdering it means he's gonna have an easier time doing the spooky glitch if he's opting to do that. Which I don't think he dashed, so no.
Yeah, it didn't look like he didn't do it yesterday either.
These rooms, though, they're relatively safe if you're pretty practiced at them. They're like, you typically don't take damage once you're in this part of the dungeon. All right,
he did make the mistake that every one of us does with Godmire and flip that switch.
Single time.
I don't think I've ever remembered not to flip that switch. So I did see someone asking about what's Godmire. Anytime we refer to like a blank dungeon, it's basically just the layout that allows you to skip the most and get through it the quickest.
Yeah, so for Mire, that's a big key in those first 2 locations that you check when you do the dungeon. Because you don't actually need any small keys here to get to Vitreous.
Very nice Silver's Phase 1, gets the double shot for Phase 2, and now we head up to Ganon's Tower, everyone's favorite place.
Meanwhile, Lunchtime is headed towards Smith sequence, so I mean, he's making the right calls, going to the right places. Nothing too terrible happening to him, like going back to Turtle Rock. Why is everybody spamming numbers? What's that about?
So there's a big key in GT, right?
Pretty sure. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, well, there are these 22 chests in the basement, and they've got a chance of
22?
having that big key.
Seems like a lot.
It is a lot, and you really hope to open like one of them, but that usually doesn't happen.
Why don't they just open the one that has the big key in it first? Like, that just makes sense to me.
That does seem like a good choice, but what if the big key is locked behind some of the small keys you have to open chests for? I mean,
Well,
you can only do so much.
There's like 50 different pots that have small keys, Mentos, man. Just pick those up, obviously.
Oh, that makes sense. So yeah, moral of the story here is the big key hunt is kind of the last vestige of randomness in LTTPR. You go into Ganon's tower, you know that somewhere in the basement there's a big key, and you gotta find it in whatever route you're most comfortable with. And, you know, in a little bit closer race, it could be a deciding factor. In this one, it's just a matter of how long does it keep azder playing.
How do we not have a version of this game yet, or like a toggle or something when you generate a seed that guarantees the location of the big key? I feel like that should exist. I'm not sure if we should all be playing on it, but I feel like it should exist.
I feel like that's just called customizer.
Yeah, I suppose. And there is go mode for lunchtime. Yeah, fast Ganon, I guess that's true.
But then you don't get to do the gauntlet, and the gauntlet is fun. So one thing I don't like about fast Ganon.
Go for it. What is it?
Oh, not being able to do the gauntlet.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, dude, fast Ganon seeds, they feel like a little anticlimactic, like, because you get so used to this 6-minute climb up the gauntlet. Oh, lunchtime losing his sword beams right before entering the dungeon. Quake, unfortunately, not able to hit things that aren't on the ground. Not even kidding, that's how the Quake medallion works. You wouldn't think so with this being like a retro game, but any enemy that's not on the ground is immediately immune to a Quake.
Oh, the number of times that's caught me up because I used it at just the wrong moment.
The most surprising one is pen gators, which they like bounce off the wall, and they're in the air for a split moment. So if you use Quake while they're actually in the air, it doesn't hit them, but it one-shots them if they're on the ice.
As they're doing some funky BK routing, he went to the first two chests on the right side, then over to Stalfos room, now back to the right, and he's going to gamble tile room.
So this route actually has a name. It's called Let's Be as Inefficient as Possible and Try to Steal the Win.
That seems like a very accurate name.
Not to knock ass or anything, but like this is like super inefficient when it comes to checking the locations. But you know, like this might just be the big key right here, and he gets like super rewarded for it.
Yeah, and from our perspective, we know that he is a mile and a half ahead. From his perspective, he probably assumes lunchtime is also in GT, probably ahead of him, and he's just gambling wacky routes to try to get a little bit of an edge.
Oh, I assure you, if he has his IRC open, he has been looking at it every like 2 seconds since Ice Palace, just expecting lunchtime to finish the race.
I don't know about since Ice, but maybe since since finding the hook shot.
Yeah, the swamp. Oh yeah, the hook shot. Yeah, the swamp and the pod double dips, completely unnecessary. Left side was completely unnecessary. Eastern was unnecessary. Like, there's just so much that they've both done that they didn't have to do. Like, this could have been a much faster seed if it was like a spoiler log or something.
Yeah, that's always the case with Rando, but as a person playing Rando, you're always kind of on the assumption that if you know your opponent, you know their skill level, you just assume that they make all the right choices, which no one ever does, and you've made all the wrong choices, which you know is true, and you're just like, hey, this is not going great.
So as you're continuing from Compass Room onto Ice Armor, so his route will do Random Room last.
And lunchtime is, getting close to GT. If he takes a more traditional route and the big key is in Rando Room, this is going to be a lot closer pretty quickly.
Oh yeah, definitely a lot of time to save here. I don't think it's enough for him to pull ahead.
Oh, never mind.
Oh,
Big
there's
key
Big
is
Key.
on Bob's
Yeah.
chest, so. So yeah, it's still not in the realm of impossible. I mean, you could have the sprite despawn in Moldorm 2, which happens so very rarely, but can happen. You could have just a variety of things could go wrong, but it's unlikely for Azder of all people to fail Gauntlet with Tempered Sword, tons of health, blue mail, silver arrows.
Yeah, no, I mean, at this stage of the tournament, like, we have 128, the best 128 players in the random community. Not one of these guys is going to have any trouble with the gauntlet like this. Of all the horrible things that could happen, I think the most likely would be, like, running out of magic with some really, really poor decision-making in the first torch room.
Yeah, the other catch is you do have, with this being an elimination match, you do have nerves factoring in, and that's kind of where the traditional speedrunning can come in handy here, because when you've been doing this gauntlet looking for a PB, trying to get that, little bit of time save, you are used to that pressure at the end of a run. Whereas a lot of people who only race rando and aren't in these elimination scenarios very often don't have as much experience dealing with that if I make a mistake, it's over feeling.
Yeah, to add on to that, not even just the elimination series, but this is the elimination round. Like, this is game 3. This is the last chance both of these guys have to continue in this tournament.
Yeah, it's nice a place I've been in past tournaments that is not a great place to be.
Yeah, this is actually my first tournament, and I have not been doing that well in this situation.
I went 0-6 to start the groups last year and was pretty much in win or go home the entire rest of the group stage. But back to what's going on here, Azder through the 2 Wizrobe rooms. Very low magic for the torch room, but with half magic and lamp, he has literally nothing to worry about here. And lunchtime is taking a more traditional big key route, so he'll be doing the rando room, which we didn't see from Azder's side, and then getting the big key not far beyond.
Yeah, he actually gets the big key faster than Azder did. By a little bit, tile room being the big difference.
I was gonna say, I mean, anyone who didn't do tile room would be getting the big key faster than Azder did. So, okay, we are to the, safety room where you can powder those anti-fairs if you feel like you need to. Azder says no. He also says no to the full magic. He's got more than enough. Now just has to quickly kill Moldorm 2, who he, mercifully let live yesterday.
Yeah, not taking any chances with hovers right now.
Now, Aga 2 is pretty much the last place where anything could go wrong, and it's unlikely.
With this many hearts, he could probably just stand in, like, the bottom right corner and just spam slash up, and eventually Aga would die before he did.
I think you're right on that, honestly. Only gets the single off of that first phase there. This is a good double setup if no blue balls, but hey.
Rip. Oh, gross pattern. Alright, that is by far the worst Aga pattern.
Yeah, it's, if not the worst, it's very close. That was a really good one, though.
Nice triple.
There we go. Aga 2 is dead. We just have the Ganon fight left. While Azder gets going on the Ganon fight, lunchtime is going to be heading up the gauntlet himself. All things considered, this is going to end up very close.
Yeah, definitely Azder's race to lose, though. But, I mean, like, he could make some pretty big mistakes and still come out ahead here. I think he'd have to be like 3 Ganon deaths in phase 4 or something for lunchtime to pull ahead.
Yeah, it's don't get me wrong, I'm not talking very close, like, seconds. I'm talking,
No, it's
within 5 minutes.
Yeah, in any race where you're in the gauntlet before your opponent finishes, like, you feel like you did well, even if you didn't win.
Yeah, it's easy to forget when we're watching and seeing everything, but from the perspective of, playing the game, there are so many random factors that the time difference is very prone to wider ranges. So times within 5 minutes are honestly pretty close for a one-on-one. Either way, Azder got the 1-in-1 cycle. He now has all 4 hits on phase 2, needs 4 silvers to seal his way into brackets. Sets up for the double. Gets the triple. That will do.
That was a really tight triple, though. I can't believe he made that one.
Yeah, he did not have a whole lot of time there, or space there.
GG Azder.
And he finishes with an official time of 1:43.10.
Fantastic showing from Azder. And Azder does take this series. This is the end of their group. He will be moving on to the bracket stage at lunchtime. Unfortunately, we'll have to try his luck again, or his I guess his rando again next tournament.
And if I'm reading the correctly here, lunchtime did forfeit from the race pretty much immediately after Azder's victory. From what he said, he has another race coming up for the German tourney, so he had to go get ready for that. Also, I can't quote Azder's comment directly, but okay, this is definitely the group of how the blank did I win that, is the comment he left on that race. And
wait, what does blank mean?
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
All right. And we welcome Azder to the voice chat. GG. How relieved are you right now? Like on a scale of 1 to 10.
Sorry, what was the question?
How relieved are you that this is over and you're moving on?
Oh man, probably like 8 relieved that it's over, and maybe like 6 relieved that I'm moving on.
Yeah, that's true. Moving on means this continues.
More of this.
More of this. I know I was in a similar boat as you, the first seed in my group, but had to drop down to the decider match. And my races are not happened yet, so I'm not looking forward to it. So how did you feel coming into this series overall? Like, did you feel like, you deserve to be in the decider match, or and how unhappy were you that you're up against the second seed of the group?
This group is pretty strong, I think. I think Lunchtime and Ravis both have very high performance ceilings. Like, I've seen that a lot in dailies. Lunchtime has done better than me in some qualifier races where I felt like I did really well. But
so you felt like it could go either way,
Yeah, like, really could have.
I could get out of the group quickly, or just be knocked out really quickly.
Yeah, I mean, I was expecting to win against Ravis more than Lunchtime. I was a lot more scared of Lunchtime, but yeah, I don't know. This group's races have been an absolute mess, and it's almost like everyone in our group is doing their best to lose.
I'm curious, how did you feel when you made that early dive into pod, and the only thing you left was Helmasaur, and then, 25 minutes later, you're going back getting the hook shot from?
Okay, so that was a big mistake. I mixed up Eastern and Desert when I did my map check. So I thought Eastern was a crystal, and that's why I was going to that area. And I was just like, okay, pod's a pendant, that's fine, we'll just do Eastern first, and we'll decide after. And I go into Eastern, and I hear pendant music, and I'm like, oh god, no, this is really bad.
That does explain a lot, because we were asking, why would he go to Eastern first if he's making these pendant gambles? But so is that's why you left Eastern?
Yeah, because I was just like, okay, I was thinking about it like the whole way I was walking. I was like, okay, first 2 items, that's not too bad, I guess. But mostly I was like, okay, I'm gonna get everything bow locked in pod at least, because I got that bow. It's way out of logic, of course. I don't really know where I am in logic at all, but we'll see what's here. And so I didn't do Helmasaur. I didn't go to the end because I didn't want to fully commit to a gamble of doing like one or both pendants, really. So I saw, like, I've got Ether, I've got Shovel, I got Mushroom from Sahasrara, which lunchtime might not have been this direction yet. So any of these might be required. So we might be okay dipping, and maybe when it comes here, hopefully we'll clear it.
That was, I think, one of the closest I've seen to just accidental god routing then. Just like, oh, I made a mistake, and because of that, I just got the god route.
It would have been a pretty gross walk to Helmasaur, though, on the equipment you had when you were there, if you had wanted to make that gamble. Like, swordless, fire rodless, turtle room in the dark.
Yeah, so, like, I went Death Mountain out of logic, hoping for, like, a fire rod or something, or a sword, or a lamp for pod. And anything like that would help with one of the Dark World loops, like whichever direction I decided to go. And I didn't really find anything that good except for boots. Boots are pretty good. I was hoping for a sword for Pod Dark Maze, but I was just like, you know what? Let's take the boots there. I can kick a Dash Dust. Eastern's a crystal. And I get there and I'm like, oh, Eastern's not a crystal. This is bad. Like it wasn't like totally like over in a vacuum, but it was just kind of the thing where it's like, okay, well, I wasted all this time walking here. I need to get something out of here, hopefully. And this is just like, I know I made some dumb decisions, like dumb actual decisions in some of these series, but or questionable, I should say. But going straight for both pendant dungeons when you have Thieves Town to do and like all of West and South Dark World, that's too much for me. And there's no way that he's doing this too. So if this turns up nothing, I'm pretty screwed. So
yeah, as it turned out, Lunchtime ended up doing the exact same things you did, just at a later time. The progression was just out of the way just enough that you guys kind of converged on finding that hookshot on Helmasaur. I think the only difference was Ice Rod Cave or something. Like you hadn't done and he did.
Yeah, I bailed on Ice Rod Cave early just because like the entire world opened up.
Yeah, I think here at the end, you know, he didn't finish, he forfeited, but probably would have been, what, like 5 minutes behind you? And he full cleared Ice Palace versus you kind of pseudo-go-moding it. That alone basically makes up a large chunk of that time difference. You two were real close in terms of, you know, how you played and routed it, but that Ice Palace full clear definitely added a good chunk of that time to it.
Well, Ice Palace full clear really hurt me in game 1, so from what I saw. But like I was in the point where I was just like, I got my hook shot really late, and you know, I seem to always get screwed when I get my, you know, it's always the hook shot. Why is it always the hook shot that I get late? It's so dumb. I get screwed and I get my hook shot late, and sorry, what am I thinking of saying? And then it's like, oh, my entire go mode's right behind it. I feel like that happens really often. But I also have a lot of situations where I'm like, okay, I need my entire go mode not to be directly behind it, so let's start checking dumb things. And then I lose entirely because of that. So this time I'm like, well, let's actually like kind of try and see what's going on here a little bit. And ended up going Dark Death Mountain and thinking, okay, well, Flute's probably in Turtle Rock. I think the seed really is pointing here with all the items. And
so tell us about that Flute on Laser Bridge, because when you guys both did this, you left Turtle Rock after the Flute, and it was likely that Quake wasn't required, but the possibility remained that the Quake was required, and it was also in Turtle Rock. Was leaving Turtle Rock at that point a factor of just how behind you felt, or was that something you do every time?
Yeah, it was definitely how behind I felt, and that's why I FOMO'd Ice as well, because I just felt like if I need to go like right to where my progression is and just go in, get it, and get out. And then, you know, when Quake showed up on Meyer, I was just like, really, really, oh god. I was like, okay, so where is it? Where could it be? Let's see. I left Eastern. I left places in Ice Palace. I left Laser Bridge. This is really bad. And okay, so let's just
caves by cave.
Yeah, there's all those places too. But Hera Basement, yeah. So Hera Basement was interesting because like I went up mountain early and I wasn't sure if he was going to do that. So I wasn't sure if he would have gotten to Hera Basement or not. But once I found where Fire Rod was, I was just like, okay, I need to skip Hera Basement. It's not reasonable to go back for that. If something's there, I'm probably in a bad spot. So I don't actually know if he ended up doing it or not. But
he didn't. Yeah, okay. with the lamp being behind the book in Desert and then the Fire Rod being locked behind that further, it was really unlikely anybody would be on the mountain for the first time with a fire source.
Yeah. That's true. Did we both end up following lamp logic? Like, did we both end up getting the lamp from Desert before going back to Helma?
Yes.
Okay, because that felt really gross, especially for me after the unnecessary swamp dip.
Yeah, you went into swamp before Desert, which I thought was like, oh, really?
Well, like, I couldn't complete Desert. I didn't have a fire source. And the boots were out of logic. The boots are out of logic for me, so I'm like, okay, Desert swamp is the better option here.
No, for me, it was the book being flipper lock would have had me thinking Desert over swamp in that situation. But I can see the reasoning behind both. Especially, I hadn't considered the boots being out of logic.
Yeah, it turns out that Desert wasn't boots locked at all, which made a lot of sense that the lamp was there, given that. So, and I was like, okay, now the logic's starting to come together. Now that the logic's starting to come together, I realize I didn't need this lamp at all. Man, that it was awful. Although, like, yeah, like isolating Helma and Pod, even if you do go to Pod at like kind of the correct time, later in the seed, when like you're running out of stuff, there's still a chance that you might skip Helma, and I guess that's what he did.
Yeah, I was actually surprised that Lunchtime did do that, because like you were saying, like he went there later, so he had less of the game available. Because like he got the lamp out of Desert and then went to Pod and then went to Swamp. And after full clearing Pod and getting nothing, and there's an item on the bus, like I feel like I'd have to do it in that situation. But you both made the call to leave.
Yeah, I at least in my position, like going to Alma would have been awful, and it's not really that I can't do it, but more that it's high risk and I'm going to lose a lot of time probably.
Yeah, for a mystery item on a pendant boss.
In a place where I shouldn't be when I still haven't done Crystal Thieves down. Like, it's just a ridiculous situation, and it's just like, I need to cut my losses like right now.
Well, GG's, dude. You put on one heck of a series, one heck of a race today. You definitely deserve to be moving on to brackets.
Do I? I don't know about that.
More so than myself, at least.
Yeah, I've watched 2 of the 3 games of the series. You've played very well, even if Rando has been Rando for a bit of it.
So you know what's funny actually? I saw that Temperate Sword on Desert Ledge, and I was gonna go into Desert, and like I still couldn't beat it, and I was about to try and find my second item on the right side. Was it second item? I don't remember, but if Lamp wasn't there, then I was not going to walk all the way back to the left side of Desert to exit just to grab that Tempered Sword right then, when there could have been another sword in my way somewhere else, or when I could have gotten it later. And I was thinking back to, what was it, Game 2, I think, where I skipped the Tempered Sword on Bumper Ledge. And I was just like, so I am totally intending to do that if I can't beat Desert here. And I know chat's going to get really, really mad at me again if I do that.
It's a bold move for most people. I feel like not really a bold move for you.
I think it like the sword is kind of like you could find another sword in the way. You don't know if you're going to find one maybe before you end up having to do a boss where it would save time. Like Temper Sword is really good, but it doesn't save that much time on. There's a lot of bosses where you might end up having equipment that will save enough time to where you don't really need it. Like you might have Fire Rod, have Magic for Cold Stare by the time you get to it, or you might have Silvers for Vidi, or like the only really concrete place where not having Tempered loses a lot of time is Ganon, and you have a lot of gain between wherever you are in Ganon for most of the time.
Oh yeah, and you're guaranteed to pick it up before Ganon at least.
Oh yeah, that one even.
Because you have to go back to Lamo anyway, and either whether you're coming through the front or from the backside, like you'll pick up that Tempered Sword at that point.
Yeah. It was a lot safer to do it, to skip it this time if I did do that. But that was my logic behind the Bumper Cave skip, at least.
Makes a lot of sense.
Well, I think we're about ready to wrap it up, unless you had something else to add, Azder.
No, I think I'm good.
All right, sounds good. You want to do the sign-off, Mentos, man?
Sure. So first of all, give these two runners a follow. They put on a great show for us through this entire 3-game series, through this entire tournament so far. Lunchtime unfortunately eliminated Azder. You will be seeing more of in the bracket stage beginning soon. Other than that, thank you, Koi, my co-commentator, who steps in at the last minute, as well as our tracker, Kippy.
Woo-woo.
And real quick, pulling up the schedule. The next race I can say for sure is going to be on a restream will be Game 2 of Fear Agent versus Salty Fry on Speed Gaming 2. We do have one match in the middle scheduled for restream, but currently no crew. So that one may not end up making it depending on how crew involvement goes.
If I remember right, there's like some really high-profile match happening in the late afternoon to early evening.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm not going to go through everything, but we are getting a matchup from one of our groups that is a marquee matchup, so to speak, two people who could easily go deep in the tournament in the bracket stage. We got Zero Rush and Andy going one-on-one.
Never mind.
Yes, I did.
I was just kidding.
Your race is going on as well. I just purposely went that route.
Andy Zero Rush is like, what? These guys, that's a finals matchup right there. Like, those guys could easily go all the way. So I definitely understand people wanting to watch that.
I had to take that opportunity to kind of. I knew where you were going, and I went against.
No, I was talking about the Andy one. Nobody wants to watch me play when Andy and Zero Rush are playing. I want to watch Andy and Zero Rush play. I might call in sick for this race to watch that.
But yeah, as mentioned, Koi's got a race going on today. We got a few other ones going on as well, spread across the channels. Keep an eye on the schedule. I'm not going to list off everything going on, but I do know that one particular matchup has been eagerly awaited by a lot of people in the community since it was found out that it was going to be happening, so it should be fun. Other than that, though, I got nothing else, so on my behalf, I've been Mentos Man 8, and thank you guys for tuning in. Hope to see you around on more of these races as we move into the end of the groups and the start of the brackets over the next week.
I guess that'll be it then, guys. All right, thanks for watching, everybody. Really appreciate everybody being here, and we will see you later on more speed gaming matches. Bye, everybody.